that night when Oleana asked the question about how do I nurture myself, and I gave a standard wonderful thing. But this was huge gift because I've been talking about why I was doing sound healing. That question was how do you recharge yourself?
Yes,
And when I was doing it,
yeah.
all of a sudden, this like clearly I can, maybe 2 seconds, do everything with love,
Yeah.
with everything with love. But not just that word, but I also understood in all the intricate ways that we do what we, in love and what we don't do. So, which was amazing. Like whole information just came in, just like that.
Yes.
So we apparently, I don't know who's speaking to me. I'm assuming it is God, but I think God has more things to do than speak to me, and my head says. So is it an angel? Is it a guy? Who's just ask the question and answer which just comes. And other day I was talking to my Muslim friend, and when he comes in, he was just talking about things, and he's wonderful, and he thinks we're so we're just talking, but then some reason we talk about spirituality, and I work on him. But then while I was working on him, what came through my head is said, what's wrong with this world? We've been practicing not the spirituality, religion throughout the entire world. The religion of, and I think you heard that yesterday because I think I was talking to your son about it, that we've been practicing old philosophy, that it was appropriate perhaps at the time, but it's no longer applied because we have evolved, God has evolved, so we are keep forcing this indoctrination.
You were talking about the lady wearing that in the heat.
Yeah, right. But beside her, but that was conversation I had. Yeah. But that understanding, like just when, like within 30 seconds, that message came in. So we need to, until we stop that, until we update them almost, because this wars and everything else going on, that we show up thinking we have an enemy, that we have to destroy somebody, everything else. So the voice in my head of who came to visit me in 30 seconds said, reason is because we've been practicing, reinforcing into people of all religion, of every different denomination, and that needs to stop.
That the God even evolved,
yes,
we evolved.
Absolutely.
Because we were primitive, so
the God didn't have to be that smart, and as it's going along. But that message again just came in 30 seconds, and I'm thinking like, oh, where'd that come from? But it was so clear.
As we tuned, then like the cheese very much. So that's why you get like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when we get things, we don't trust ourselves, because I think I do get certain things, but I think it's just
right. We override because also we have a preconceived notion.
Yes.
We have a preconceived notion.
Thinking,
right.
Because I like this person, I don't like this person, I feel that way.
Right, and we just tag it, but if you can kind of lean into it, trust it, and love, and maybe other things would unfold. And it's been a lot of ongoing conversation in different ways. But I'd like to kind of just to carry a little bit, since this was not the topic I had in mind tonight, but we kind of walked into it, which is good. How to live conscious life. It is thinking, doing everything with awareness, with the consciousness. So it could be brushing your teeth, it could be saying hi to your neighbor or whatever. It is always that, again, it's like even saying hi to your neighbor. How do you know? That might be the last person you see. For them as well as you. So how you show up makes all the difference in the world. If you were very angry at the person, like, whatever, grumpy, whatever, that person looked at you and went home and died. And the very thing that is they're dying, they're going to remember, and is the very surface of their head right now, is the last person they saw. So to me, it's a very big responsibility that we carry, is that we, not for like a sacrifice for somebody else, but for our own sake, is that living your life is the best you can, that it is acceptable to you. That makes you comfortable. It makes you comfortable in your own skin, So as I said, we were talking about reincarnation. This wasn't the topic that I was going to necessarily, but it's really an interesting topic, because it's the way we live on each day when we think, oh my God, I'm so busy, I'm so miserable, I'm so this and I'm so that. Well, if you come to fix your life, and maybe you had the same issue in the last life, and if that energy still carries through your whole body of that story, so it's like, I don't know if the lack of a better word, the one popping into my head is like, say, alcoholic. The behavior of that, that familiar behavior, right? Even though you're not drinking, you still have those memory traumas all embedded in your psyche, in your body. Until you really begin to address it, until you begin to at least understand why you're doing it. Oh, my behavior is coming from that place.
That's very important. That's where I think it's little helpful if we know where we are coming from. Not because, but that helps. That makes sense, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So there is a tool that is necessary and helpful. But there's such a thing as also overindulgence.
Right.
But again, it's that choice about when I say currency, your time is, do I want to spend, where is my time's going to work the best for my highest well-being? Because when you get to be the highest well-being, everything around you get to vibrate higher frequency. So where do I want to put my time for my highest, if I can spend 2 years of my life trying to figure out who I was, and da-da-da-da-da. Now you just have not wasted, but you have spent that 2 years. That's more important than anything else. Of trying to figure out, because you think that's going to give you a satisfaction, that's going to give you an answer, this is going to make you a better person, right? That's your choice, because that's how, in the end, whatever you lost that time, for the lack of a better word, is you're going to have to make up it somewhere along the way because you didn't gain. Yeah. Or it takes a little bit of an awakened human being to wake up. It doesn't mean you're enlightened to the whatever. If you woke up enough, you're conscious enough, you say, you know what, I'm not sure that's going to be as helpful as if I am quiet myself down. I listen to my intuition, get my value clear. Do I have ethics? At what price am I willing to pay? That is a really pretty simple question. It tells everything about you. What are you willing to compromise your principle? And it's not your principle, it's a God's principle. Yes. For the sake of your comfort, the sake of easy way out. If you say, oh yeah, I'm willing to do that, then you need to do some self-work because you're not valuing yourself. If you're willing to, I think Winston Churchill, and I'm sure I'm going to not get it quite right, is when Winston Churchill was having a dinner with this woman, whatever, it was a whole bunch, it was a dinner table. And Winston Churchill is known to have a few what do you say? He drank. He liked drinking, whatever. So, and while he was drinking, he was flirting with one of the women, and he said to her, "Would you sleep with me if I gave you $1 million?" He said, "Of course I would," she says. Then he said, "Well, would you sleep with me?" And I'm sure I get for, let's say, 300 pounds. And she said, "Winston, who do you think I am?" And he said, "Well, we already established that. We just have to come up with the price or something in that. We already know," because she thinks if she sleeps for the $1 million, that means she's not that. But if she sleeps for 300 pounds, and she's that. Yeah. And he said, no. We already established who you are, what you are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of, in that way, it's like knowing when would you lie, for what reason. What would you not willing to lie? What would you be willing to, because we think we do, look, that's a little white lie, or we do this, or we put up with. But those are all like cutting a little sliver of your soul and your integrity away, because eventually, as my grandmother used to say, you didn't start it as a cow thief, you started by stealing needles. It's so small. So once you establish what is your integrity, what is value of your life, so when you put those price, then you are valuing your soul. You're valuing that intangible beyond the world, because you're not willing to compromise, because that's priceless.
Yes.
But that's, the whole people, we are watching the whole world spinning, and the right price, anything can go, including your soul.
Exactly, because we all know what is right and what is wrong.
Yes.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Even people that are doing all the wrong thing is still they also.
Oh, they know. And I always said, end of the, it like they're inside. They know they can't get away from that. Everybody knows that.
We can make fool to other person, but we for ourselves we know.
Right. So in terms of, so when we talk about how much currency are we willing to spend, so out of my, because if you just listen to your instinct, if you watch your surrounding, you watch the people who's in front of you and the problems that you're facing, that actually, if you spend the time to like examine it, that will tell you all about you. That will tell you the past, it will tell you the future, it will tell you the current.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. So that is already right in front of you. It's already available to you. You don't have to get regress and look at it and it's like that. Because I heard like one of these great interview, and I forgot the man's name, but it was actually, I'd be promoting, I oftentimes listen to Buddha at the gas pump with the Rick Archer. And one of the was a teaching, this spiritual teacher who talks about, and I was listening and I perked my ear because he had a regression. Reason he had a regression because he was having also a heart problem.
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out what was going on, other than he had a problem, but they don't know like where the genesis was. So he just kind of came into a conclusion it has something to do with his past.
And sometimes it helps.
Yeah. So he couldn't figure out, so he hired somebody who was very famous because he's already in the spiritual field, he knows who does the work, to regress him. He read all about it, and then when they did it, when she did it, she took him back, like he found himself in wearing, like the first thing I think he noticed was he was wearing this like wooden shoes. And he noticed the house had a red roofs, but while he was going through that, almost like he said, he felt like he was having an open heart surgery. It was so, as the regression went on, it was so painful because what he began to see, he said, oh, my parents, they didn't love me at all. And but that is not, yeah, I think I told you that. So not only they didn't love him, but some degree that he was just like another higher hand, and it's like people used to have a lot of children so they can touch the fields and they can work. They needed more workers, and one way to have it was to have babies. So he felt like that. He was one of, so they didn't even love him, they didn't even like him, but they kept him so because he was one of the farm hands. So I think he got injured or something. So just that even from his telling the story, you can get this sense of the deepest loneliness and grief from that. So his heart got wounded. And so that wounded heart energy carries on to lifetimes after. So this was like a long, several hundreds years ago. But he continued on to the current time. He's still alive at the current time. So by going through, he understood. And he said literally he felt like he was getting what's most painful heart surgery, and they helped him to come out. And then the Regaja asked, so did your heart get better? And he said, yes. Once he got, released. So when you carry those imprints. So my job these days is I'm really beginning to understand how energy works. All that was energy continuum. So when you are born, when you have all those energy of their suffering, not the physical body I'm talking about, just the energy of their suffering. So when the next journey, he was born carrying through that lineage right into it. So this energy is like a tornado, that it churns, it's a wave, right? So if you're continuing this wave and you can feel the wave, but you can't put your finger on it, you can't do, it's not really a tangible thing. It's energy that you carry, the breath that you carry. So that's why I'm so into these days, like, oh my God, if I could get into the thermophic field, and if I could get into the etheric field and just kind of just mitigate, which is, it's like when you walk into a room and the room has an imprint of what took place, like
oh yes,
everything in it. Well, it's not the wall itself, it's the story, it's the
Yeah.
energy. But what does the shamans used to do in olden days? Without us understanding, they changed the energy.
Like you go to some temples sometimes
Yeah.
in India, or even church to the matter, anywhere, where they correct your energy, people are praying, and then you walk
Yes.
in. If nobody's there too, there is a.
You can feel it, you
Yeah,
can
like
walk.
Here you walk in
Yeah.
because you do all these things. There is a, you know.
But because energy does not die.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that you cannot be destroyed.
Yeah.
Like I had a personal, again, I know this from, even as a child, I understood and I would do the strangest things, like for the sake of the energy. But particularly, like I was in my brother-in-law's house. This was like maybe 25, 30 years ago, there's the house. And every time I'm in this room, I didn't like the house anyway. It was an old house. But this particular room, I could just feel it. It was a sadness, pain,
Yeah.
sadness and a pain. And so I would say to my husband, I said, that room is like people are like a moaning, and there's a sadness and a pain. I said, I don't know what's wrong with that, but that room has all that. But turned out it was an old-fashioned doctor's office. It was a doctor's office in the house. That room was a doctor's office. All the people in there. Yes, so that's what I was feeling it.
It is like that. We had to stay in one of our friend's old house for a couple of months when we were moving in the process. I could not. You remember Doug's house? And I thought it's because it's dirty, and he really like scrubbing, bleaching. He thought like I'm not. But I sat like that in the room. Like, remember? I said, I really, and I was like almost crying that, and big house, and the cleaning lady came, he cleaned, and I said, I don't know, I can't, I will stay in the hotel, but I'm not going to be able to. One night, second night, I was just like crying, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No, because you can feel things. I mean, literally, I remember walking in the bookstore. No, it was an antique store, actually, with my daughter. We went downstairs. It was in Washington, D.C. And they had a sign on the basement. It said, everything in this room is $10. So my daughter's still in college, so we're walking down, and well, by that point, she was in law school, but anyway. And so she went to touch this table. And as her hand was going, I said, stop. And she said, what? And I said, let's leave here, back your hand. I said, that furniture came out of the house that somebody died. That furniture came out of the house, there's been a fire. And I said, somebody died. So she said, okay, Mom, but just you look at it and it just tell you instantly, because everything holds the energy. Everything holds the. Yeah. So coming back to the.
Explanation, I stopped there because then I get confused, and like other people with me, they were like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, she's going around the bend just slightly. But just kind of bringing back on your question earlier, but the regression and all those things are wonderful. But one thing that I would ask is look at your life, and like if you want to know without going through all that, look at who's around, what you're experiencing, all that. That would tell you so much about the past, really almost immediate past. And then you start making the corrections, like you might see things getting repeated over and over again. Because the very people that is in right front of you is the thing that you have to deal with it that you bring from the past. So if you pay attention and get that in order, the rest will fall into place in the next and next. So how much time do we choose to spend? Because like you can go back and, because again, I can explain about that gentleman, who was mother and father didn't love him and live in those places. Because we can twist things like, oh my God, oh, that's why nobody ever loved me. That's why I am this way, that. If you put them in a context of the time, at that time, these people weren't capable of.
I know, that was not the relation. Now there's one or two child people are like very
right. So if you apply what you know and what you do to today into the past, and you kind of adapt all that emotion,
like that, yeah.
But the thing is, we get confused. You cannot apply the same thing. And if we can distinguish it, your life will be much, much better, because actually, all the joys, all the tears, all the pains in life, they're just things, it pass. will pass. But that doesn't mean we have to drag it through
Yes,
the
yes.
whole life remembering, like,
Today is the new day. We
Yeah.
start from today.
Because if you just carry on and you only have a certain size of luggage, and if you're only carrying your old painful memories,
We cannot put the new good things.
exactly. And that's not a really a good way to remember. Like, I
Very
need to
good.
make a space.
Yes.
Do I want to keep carrying on this pain to remind me what a jerk, what a wonderful she was or he was, whatever? Or do you want to create some new ones?
Memories.
And that new you, that
Yeah.
new possibility of all that you can be. Because you don't even know what you can be because you haven't got there yet, right?
Beautiful.
So that's what I'm talking about in terms of your currency. That is the most valuable, precious. So I am very careful to where I put my attention, who I pay my attention to. Because I'm never going to get that back again.
Yeah, we have to be very careful. All the right and positive.
Yeah, what is going to help you to be the happiest, your well-being,
Higher self.
to elevate? Yes, is this going to drag me down, or is it going to elevate me? It's going to bring me joy, or it's going to bring me a suffering. If you could remember, and everybody says, I'm really, really sorry for making you suffer, whatever, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, you can get all the apology in the world. Is that going to change your life today?
No.
Right? It's not going to be. I mean, it's kind of nice that they're sorry, so to speak, I guess, but that's not going to change your circumstances. So if they're sorry, that's good. If they're not sorry, that's good. You just need to move on and do your work, right?
Do the work.
So can I just, before I shut this off, can I just ask you, so when somebody told you that, what impact did it have in your life if you look back? Like when somebody said, oh, and 500 years ago you were so-and-so. Yeah.
The effect on my life
Yeah.
after that?
Uh-huh.
I don't see any change after that, but it was all the time in my mind that what was that and how it happened, you know what I mean? But it affect, I never forget that sentence, but didn't affect my behavior, my life, you know?
You think so, or do you think that to me, that statement should have made a little bit the recognizing. Did you recognize that you could have been that? And your behavior of today or your personality kind of fits in with that.
I try all the time to improve and be better, but I don't know specifically because of that I can affect, I don't know that.
Okay, maybe I'm phrasing it in the wrong way, but in terms of, you are a certain way, right? Sometimes you're like, you have no idea why. I think I was born this way, my mother, my father, all that. But then somebody says, oh, because this, and then because of this reason, or that you were this, like she said, you were this. And that kind of fits into.
But I think he didn't take that seriously.
Okay, but I just want to,
Yeah.
but it would make sense. And maybe it didn't make a sense to you, but like when I spent 22 years looking at it, like I had to examine, am I that kind of personality, would do those things and this, and does that make sense? So it helped me in that way, in order for me to accept that I had to understand how it interlock with each other. So as I said, and as soon as you said it, I said, well, that makes perfect sense. I can see it.
She said that.
That's what I said. Did that make sense to you at all? Like, oh, I am this way, I guess, because of that.
Sometimes I felt that I am, maybe I am, you know, but I don't know affected my behavior after that.
Do you feel like I'm running around like I feel like a priest sometimes?
No. Not feeling like a priest, but...
Well, no, in terms of like a clergy, that kind of thing. Like, because like when you said, people come and talk to you and things, and they tell you things, like without even using that, like feel like,
Maybe my personality is like that way, you know, I listen to people and I try to
No,
avoid them.
sometimes like you said, you're not like much about materialistic thing and not my, like sometimes he has that like, I'm not, he doesn't like, even like sometimes when we're meeting new people, he said, don't share with people that what I do, because I want people to see me as what I am as a person. Otherwise, when the minute people see as a surgeon or something, then different outlook.
Well, according to my son, that anybody can be a doctor. That's what he tells everyone. No, that's not true. But and for that reason, he doesn't say. But he said anybody can be. So
Yeah.
to him, it's no big thing.
Yeah, but some society it is a
Oh
big
yeah.
thing,
No, my husband would say I would be making a reservation all day long and say, hey, this is Doctor So and So.
Yeah.
He's joking around.
But certain society,
Oh, yeah.
they see.
Oh,
see
even this
certain-
society.
And then
Yeah.
sometimes materialistic
I
thing,
never felt that I want to teach religion or
No.
doing that way, but for my behavior, maybe I thought I am going, all the time I try to improve myself.
Not religion, but like more like not.
Like clergy, she said, like
Yeah.
any religion.
Yeah.
doesn't
But
matter.
in terms of just your capacity to listen, being soulful, and that quietness, that, because like as you said it just flashed in my head. Oh, that makes perfect sense.
You did say that.
And that doesn't, that is not the good thing or the bad thing. It just makes sense. Like that piece of puzzle fits into that. It's more of that. So I was just curious.
Yeah, but I cannot say
It's
a
more
real
like
answer.
the
Maybe I
mirror.
have to think about that, see future, then I answer your question.
Right,
At
but-
this one I don't.
But that's only a piece of you. Like that's only like we've been. I think I'm like at least. I joke around like I think I'm at least 300 million years old or something. I don't know. Is it 300 million or three? Because I think dragonfly have been around that long. So and I love dragonfly. So if I figure I've been evolving so slowly into this world. So it must have taken me at least 300 million years to get to be where I am today. Before it was just a teeny little bug somewhere. And maybe even before that. So we all been many, many things,
Yeah.
many, many things. And each piece enhances for our next evolution. But now we are sitting in a junction of a different kind of evolution, I think, is that we can begin to operate from the higher frequency. And by operating from higher frequencies, like a radio channel, if you only have an AM channel, that's all you're going to get. If you're having a good, when you want to listen to PBS and at a good frequency, you can tune into more things. So it's the higher our vibration to get calibrated, we can tune into so much more.
Yeah, at this moment, I don't feel any connection with that life and this life. Really, I cannot, but maybe one day I can understand.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I think, but I understand that's not the major piece. That's just the one piece of you
if
because
you
you've been.
said
No, I
500,
got it. Evolution. Yeah.
500 and 400 years, what were you doing?
But
That is
you could
evolution too.
you could be encompassing like 300 lives, not just the one. 300 or 3,000 or who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this just one happened to be blip, and then you have a next one and
Yeah,
the next one.
yeah.
Which is kind of.
At least,
500
at least
years.
it's good that you said I can match with that. That is a good thing.
Yeah, no, because sometimes I look at somebody, that I can just see. I mean, anybody you can see like they have a behavior they cannot even answer to themselves. There's the infinity for something. Like some people will build something and they just keep doing it and keep doing it, right? And you wonder why. Like my husband, he and I said, beautiful woman or the boat? I think a boat will get it first. He see a boat and he's like in a trance. He start walking toward the boat. I literally watched him getting on a ship or the other big boat, and somebody he doesn't know, but I mean sailors and they do a lot of those things. And the guy said, "You want to come?" And my brain's saying, "No way! Like I don't even know you, and I'm getting into that big boat, like in the middle of the sea. Like what do you think?" My husband said, "Oh, I'll go." He left, and quickly I was jotting down what kind of boat he was on, just in case something happened in the sea. Like I'd have to explain to somebody where he went, because he get just transfixed. And I think he was just born that way for whatever reason.
When
And I
we
could,
have a certain thing we see, or we're just kind of like we feel this is where we belong, right?
yeah. Well, no, and you just kind of go
Yeah.
like you on a trance.
Exactly. Yeah.
So did you want to add something to?
No, I'm enjoying listening.
Okay.